So hopefully you have been doing a 60-60-30 every day for the last week in your work environment. What I'd like to do now is drill down into one of those 60s and actually into the 50-minute focus chunk and really plan a ritual that really works. So what we're going to do here is we're going to do an exercise. So get out a blank sheet of paper. All the exercises here are very simple and they just involve a pen and paper. That's the most sophisticated technological tool that you're going to need. What I'd like you to do is I would like you to take a moment and write out all of the key steps to getting yourself to create great results within a 50-minute chunk of time. All right, now focused on your biggest opportunity, whatever that biggest opportunity is at work, that thing that builds your company the most, brings in new customers, rings the cash register, whatever your highest leverage activity is. So what is it that you would do? Let me give you an example from my own life. In my business, the highest leverage that I get is typically from creating marketing and content. You can think of what I'm creating right now as content. I'm creating the video for a product called Wake Up Productive. This is very high leverage work for me because I'll make this program, I will record it, and then we'll be able to duplicate it and reproduce it, and hopefully a lot of people will benefit from it. Now, what does it take to make a video product like this, make it so that something like this works? Well, when it started out, when we would shoot video, we would come in and we'd try to be figuring out how to set up the lights, and sometimes it would take hours just to set up one light. And then we'd figure out which camera we were going to use. Well, does this one look better? Does that one look better? And it was a little bit messy. Well, now when I come to shoot video like I'm doing right now, I walk into the room, everything's set, the lights are set, the camera's set, and we press go. And it might take 10 minutes of preparation time, whereas, on average, whereas in the past it would take 2 hours of preparation time. That didn't all happen by accident. It happened because we sat down and we said, okay, this is something that we need to create a ritual around. We need to create a set of habits of behavior and preparation so that when it's time to shoot some video, everything is just handled. So now there's a ritual that we have where the camera is set up, the lights are turned on. I have a ritual where I go to my computer and I've got some formats and some outlines for creating the content, and I do that in my 50-minute chunks of time, and it all works very smoothly like clockwork. It wouldn't have happened that way had I not realized, this is something that I'm going to want to do long term, and I hadn't broken it down into chunks and had others on my team help break it down into chunks and really thought it through, right? Gone down to the granular level and wired the whole thing together. Let's say, for example, that for you, making outbound phone calls to build new relationships with partners who could sell your product. Let's say that's the highest leverage in your business, which it's the highest leverage in a lot of businesses. What do you need to have in place? What needs to all be right there so that when you launch into one of those 50-minute sessions of making outbound calls to get people to work with you, what needs to be there so that you don't have any distractions, you don't have any interruptions, you don't have any friction? So take a moment right now and make a list of all the things that need to be in place so that you can focus 50 minutes, and ideally 50 minutes and then another 50 minutes, on the biggest opportunity inside of your business. What are all the conditions that need to be in place? What are all the things that you need to do? And how does it all need to kind of work? What are all the individual chunks? So go ahead and pause the video now and make that list of all of the pieces of the puzzle that need to be in place. Go ahead and do that now, and when you're finished making your list, then come back and turn the video back on. Okay, so now that you have your list of components, you're going to want to get another piece of paper out, and you're going to want to flow chart or organize these different components. Some of them are conditions that need to be met, things that you just need to do once to set it up, like maybe you need to get a headset so that you can make better calls, make them more efficiently. And some of the things that you're going to need to do are going to be part of the system every single day. So put the things that are conditions you need to set in one list, and then flow chart out the other steps. So, let's say you draw a box and it says, number 1, turn off email, turn off cell phone, turn off anything that has an on or off switch, and close my office door so that no one interrupts me. That might be step 1. Step 2 might be pull up database of leads in salesforce.com so that I can see who my high priority lead partners are, and I can, figure out who I need to call next. Step number 3, call the most important prospect. Step 4, call the second most important prospect. I think you see where I'm going with this. Flow chart the process so you can see exactly what you need to do, and pay specific attention to the transitions, where you transition from one thing to another. Because what you'll find is that, let's say the first thing on your list, the first thing that you do is you eliminate distraction and interruption, which I highly recommend that you do. You might find that in the process of shutting down your email, you spend 25 minutes emailing people, and you get stuck there. The transitions where you're between things, this is where there's a lot of friction, where we lose a lot of energy. So you want to fit those together in your flow chart, and then when you implement your process, you're going to want to start the beginning of each of them by imagining it successful in your mind. I learned from Roy Williams, who's the guy that wrote The Wizard of Ads, very brilliant thinker. He said that we only do things that we've first seen ourselves doing in our mind. So you got to see yourself doing it successfully in your mind. So sit down, close your eyes, and imagine your process. After you've flowcharted it and after you've thought through all the transitions, then imagine how it's going to work and rehearse it in your mind. And if you want extra credit, every day when you sit down to start your new routine that you're turning into a ritual, stop for a moment, close your eyes, and imagine doing it perfectly. Imagine going through all the steps so that when you open your eyes, you're ready, and you actually go do all the steps and you see where you went wrong. Now, next, over the next week or 2 or 3, as you're doing your ritual, you're going to see these little sticking points. That's why we want to leave some time for the on-ramp and the off-ramp, because in the middle, you're going to drop the ball here and there, you're going to get distracted, you're going to notice this stuff. This is the opportunity to fine-tune this process and this ritual. So we want to chunk it down into the component parts. We want to set up the conditions, we want to flowchart the process, and then we want to see ourselves doing the ideal ritual, and then just continually optimize and tweak and tune and make sure and get all those transition points. And when you find yourself in the real world as you're doing your ritual, when you find yourself getting stuck on one over and over and over, stop and really figure out how to remove it. Don't get into the habit of doing something the wrong way. Don't get into the habit of getting a sticking point. And you might need to make some big structural change to it. You may need to find that you can't make the calls in this one room because you just keep getting interrupted. Or you might find that you have to take the glass door off your office and put a wooden door up with a sign on it that says do not disturb for those chunks of time when you're doing your prospecting, whatever it is. You may find some structural piece. Whatever you need to do, put the pieces in place to support not having friction and interruption and distraction, and then work on all the transitions so that you've got very smooth transitions.